morning. Today we finish up this breakthrough series that we've been walking through, that God might, in these winter months as we get ready for spring, that God might bring new growth and new blooms to our life, and we might understand more of Him and have a heart to understand more of Him. And in John chapter 15, which is where we are today, we find some disciples that were keenly interested in what Jesus was saying. Because you remember that John chapter 13 through John chapter 17 is called this upper room discourse. From John chapter 13 to John chapter 17, we have one night of Jesus' ministry recorded. And He is telling His disciples and demonstrating to His disciples some incredible things. He begins the evening by washing their feet and serving them through that way. After He washes their feet, and there's a confession, if you will, of Peter, and Peter's denial of Christ as he denies Him and says that surely I'll never do that. Judas has betrayed Jesus during this evening. In John chapter 14, Jesus gives us those famous words, "Let not your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house." He begins to teach them about heaven. And of course, Thomas says, "I don't know what you're talking about." So he had to spend a little time with Thomas, giving him some instructions and some directions. And then in the context of that, we get to John chapter 15. And in John chapter 15, He says, "Listen, you didn't choose me." He said, "I chose you. And I chose you for one reason, and I appointed you to one reason, that you might go and that you might bear fruit. And not just any old fruit. Not just a fly. I'm talking about fruit that will last. I'm talking about fruit that will sit on your kitchen table for a while. Fruit that will last, that will have an eternal impact, that your life and that my life needs to be positioned in such a way that it makes a difference. And it produces fruit. And it produces fruit for those around us. It produces the fruit for those that follow us. It produces fruit so that people might see Christ in us. Your life, the way you live your life, produces fruit." He begins in verse 1. In verse 1, He says, "Listen, I'm the vine. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener." Jesus said, "I am the vine, and my Father is the gardener." And you need to understand that connection between God the Father and God the Son. But Jesus is about to explain the connection between us and God the Son, and therefore God the Father. That God the Father has the authority, He has the right, He has the developmental ability as the gardener to take care of His garden and take care of His vines, if you will, and Jesus in that vine, and we are connected to that vine. Now, the outcome of this whole picture, the outcome of this whole scenario, that we're connected to a vine, that Jesus is the gardener, the caregiver of that vine, or that God the Father is the gardener and the caregiver of that vine, the outcome of that is that we have a life that makes a difference. That your life makes a difference. And you say, "I don't know if I'm connected to the vine or not. I don't know if the Father's really my gardener, and I don't know if He's caring for me or He's trimming me or pruning me in my life. I don't know." Well, just ask yourself, does your life make a difference? There's two "so that's" in this passage. There's two results, if you will, in the passage. One of them is right here. He cut off every branch that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes it. He doesn't sever it. He prunes it a little bit. He trims it a little bit so that it might produce fruit, that it might even be more fruitful. So you ask yourself in life, in my Christian life, is my life being fruitful? Is my life making a difference for those that are around me, to those I do business with, to those that work for me, to those that I work for? Is my life being fruitful? Is it making a difference? Also, an outlook of this is a point that I really don't like. You come up with better wording, okay? Because Thursday when this was due, I couldn't come up with any better wording. So this is your chance. We live a life with a positive outlook. You live a life with a positive outlook. Said, "I've told you this," there it again, "so that my joy may be in you and that your joy might be complete." Now, when you think of the words positive outlook, it's like the name it and claim it guys, you know? Like, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to look in the mirror and say, I'm not fat. You get on the bathroom scales, and the scale says, "Oh, yes, you are." You know, I mean, well, I'm just thinking skinny. Well, you can think skinny all you want to, but you're not. I mean, you can just, some of you are, and we don't really like you, but the rest of us are like, yeah, this is the way it is, you know. And sometimes we just think, oh, in the morning, I want a new car, and you go out, and it's not going to be in your driveway when you get up in the morning. Well, I claimed it and I was positive about it. Well, you can be positive all you want to. You're still left with a clunker, you know? I mean, it's just so I'm not saying this is name it and claim it and that kind of thing. But in the Christian life, some of you need to practice smiling a little bit. Some of you, and listen, the longer you're a Christian, the more you think you know how to live the Christian life. So the more regimented you become and the more regimented you become in other people, and you're saved and you're mad about it, and you want everybody else to be mad about it because this is the Christian life. Just for the fun of it, let's read this verse out loud together. And it's in John chapter 15, verse 11. Let's read it together. I have told you this so that my joy, I don't hear y'all. I mean, read the verse. Come on. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy might be complete. I've told you this. Like Jesus said, so that, I don't want to mess with your theology too much, but like Jesus had some joy. Now, can you imagine? He was at the right hand of the Father in heaven. God the Father says, if you will, you got to go to earth. He goes like from the throne of God and he goes to a manger and he puts up the Pharisees and Sadducees and Baptists and Methodists and Presbyterians and folks like us. And yet Jesus says, listen, I want my joy to be in you. I can have some joy in the middle of this mess. I want my joy to be in you, and I want your joy to be complete, to be fulfilled in your life. So one of the outcomes of being connected to the vine, right, is that your life makes a difference. Another outcome of being connected to the vine is so that you might maybe just from time to time have some joy. That you might have some happiness, some joy because of your circumstances. No, some joy that you're connected to the vine. And God is caring for us. God is our gardener. He's taking care of us in our lives. I told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy might be complete. So how do you have a life like that? How do you have a life that makes a difference? That you're not just some amoeba floating through life and just letting life occur to you, but you're this life that makes a difference and has an impact on other people. How do you have a life that every now and then you smile? That even in the difficult things of life, there's something within you that kind of keeps you going. Well, Jesus is going to tell us how we can do that. He's going to tell his disciples how they can have that in their life. And I don't like this point either. So there's 2 for 2, okay? But if we're going to, it says, you are already clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. There's got to be a time in your life that you're walking with God and the gardener comes and prunes some things away from your life and that you're clean, that you're without sin. And the reason I don't like the way I worded that, because all of us have sin. And there's the holy hush, like you know not what I speak of. But we do, don't we? That's why we need God's grace and God's mercy continually in our life. All of us have sin. But hopefully we all don't have sin in that God looks into our life and he comes into our life and prunes something away from us and we say, I'm keeping it. I'm going to continue with that attitude. I'm going to continue talking like that. I'm going to continue eating, drinking, smoking, whatever like that. I'm going to continue doing what you've asked me not to do. I'm going to continue to do that because it's my life and I can live my life I want to. You'll never have joy. You'll never have a fruitful life if you just live in rebellion of the things that God's spoken to you about. Now, he's going to speak to you about some things. He's going to show you some things. He's going to prune those away, and then he's going to show you some other things in your life if you'll allow him to do that. You are already clean because of you may want to underline that word, because of the words of Jesus. They come into our life and they prune us. They come into our life and they cleanse us. Here's some things that are not pleasing to him. Remove them from your life. So one of the ways we can begin this process of growing, one of the ways we can begin this process of having a life that makes a difference and joy in our life is that we allow the Spirit of God to come in and clean us, to prune us. And if we don't allow the Spirit of God to do that, we will not experience what God has in store for us. It's just not going to happen. We've got to be clean. So it may be this morning he wants to bring the dust rag into your life and just dust some things off. It may be in your life, may want to bring the mop bucket and the mop in your life and just clean some things up in your life. He may want to bring a vacuum cleaner in your life and just suck some things out of your life. Last Sunday night, I was up here at church, as we often are on Sunday nights. Even though we don't have Sunday night church, we have lots of stuff on Sunday night. And I was walking through the gathering space, and somebody had just a goldfish fit right in the gathering space. And goldfish on carpet, when they're all crunched up and broken up and that kind of thing, you can kind of see it from afar, a ways off, you know. So I knew where the broom was, and I knew where this is my favorite, the little dustpan on a stick. Like you don't have to catch your breath to bend over to get the dustpan at the floor, you know. That's my kind of dustpan. So I went and got it, and I put it down there, and I was chasing little goldfish around and getting them all up in the little thing so that when you walk through, you wouldn't say, well, doesn't this place care about what they look like? So I got it all up, and I was putting it back in the closet, and one of the staff members came by and said, what are you doing? I'm getting goldfish up. He said, did you know that you're a clean freak? I said, I'm not a clean freak. I just like things to be clean. Maybe God wants to come into your life and just get the dustpan and just get rid of a few things. Because that's what he does. He comes in and he prunes some things in our life. And he prunes some things away from our life. So what's the key? What's the thing we need to remember? We need to embrace his pruning. When God comes into your life and says, man, you really need to get this out of your life. It's hindering your fruitfulness. It's hindering your impact. It's hindering your joy. Because you know that's what I want for your life, and you're not doing it. We're not on the same page here. It's going to take your joy away. And we need to embrace that in our life. Now, Hebrews said, listen, no discipline seems pleasant in the time, but after a season it produces a harvest of righteousness. We need to embrace that. Hebrews also tells us that God disciplines us, God prunes us in our life for our good, so that we might have a life that makes a difference, so that we might not only have a life, that we might have some joy in our life. And he comes into our life and wants to prune us, and we want to embrace that, and we need to embrace that in our life. So we ask ourselves this morning, are we clean? If the Father has spoken to us about something, have we been obedient to do that? With our career, with our relationships, with our thought processes, with our priorities, with our habits, with our lack of habits? Have we been obedient to that? We'll never have a life that makes a difference. We'll never have joy, that our joy might be complete, the joy of Christ in our life, if we don't allow the Spirit of God to come in and prune us and get rid of some things that maybe we want to hang on to, but it's really keeping us from experiencing God's, not the good things of God, the best things of God. So we need to allow him to come in as the gardener, to come in and prune us. See if you get, this verses 4 and 5 are kind of like the buddy verse, okay? Like, God, I didn't catch it. Could you share it with me again? Listen to this verse. Remain in me, as I also may remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself, but it must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. So what does he want us to do? Did you get it? In this passage, 11 times, for people like me, 11 times, even with ADD, you can catch it. Buddy, would you just remain in me? 11 times I'm going to say in this one little passage, remain in me as I remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself, it must remain. Go through that passage and circle every remain. Remain in me, I and you and me, remain in me, because apart from me, you can just be limited in what you do. Apart from me, all you can do is try hard. Apart from me, you can do what? That wasn't a trick verse. Apart from me, you can do what? Nothing. Not some things. Not things from time to time. It says, buddy, if you want to experience the ultimate I have for you, you have got to keep in mind, apart from me, my friend, of eternal value, you can do nothing. Now, you may be able to go to work and make a paycheck. Is that all you want in life? Do you think that's going to make an eternal impact? No, Jesus said, I have more in store for you than you ever ask or imagine. And apart from me being connected to the vine, you can do nothing of eternal significance. It's not going to count. Your life, your marriage, your home, your occupation, your career is not going to, apart from me, you can do. And Jesus, not a nothing. Not even some things, not even on a good day. Nothing of eternal value if you're not connected to me, if you don't remain in me. So we say we're going to come to church. We grab our Bible, maybe dust it off, and then we come to church. And then we go home and we lay our Bible down. And then we do the afternoon. And then we do Monday. Then we act like a fool Tuesday. And then we change a business deal on Wednesday. And then Thursday rolls around, and then Friday rolls around, and then Saturday rolls around, and we think Sunday's coming tomorrow. So what did I do with my Bible? And then we go and pick up our Bible like I'm a follower of Christ, and I'm going to live my life according to this Bible. But we have not been connected to the vine. We've left it. We're not living the Christian life. We may think we're Christians, but we're not living it. It's not influencing our everyday of how we exist and how we operate in our life. Apart from me, buddy, you can do nothing 11 times. You have got to stinking remain in me. Do you get it, buddy? I mean, this verse is for people like me that just need it over and over and over and over. And he gives it to us over and over and over. If you want your life to really do something, you've got to remain in me. Now, if you don't live west of town, you don't know what I'm talking about. West. No, maybe northeast. Toward Argo. If you live out of town there. I was driving to church this morning. It was raining. It was early. It was raining. And the water that would normally run off the road was now still in the road. And all the little low spots in the road were full of water. And then there were new potholes in the road. Did y'all welcome the new potholes in the road this morning? And like some of them I was kind of dodging, you know. And some of them were so deep and so much water in them that the water was coming up. Now I drive a truck. And water was coming up over the hood of my truck and hit my windshield. And I started laughing. I thought, this is hilarious. I mean, this is nuts. It's like I'm traveling in Belize, some third world country, you know, and I had to wake up a minute and say, no, I'm traveling in America. This is trustful, you know, and I don't know, it just struck me as funny, and I just started laughing. I said, I can't believe this. But this is driving to church. But you know, life does that sometimes, does it not? There's potholes in life. And you may not expect it. You may not think you have to swerve in life, but you may not think it's going to jar you, that life just all of a sudden starts shaking and gets hard in life, but it does. Difficult times come in life, and it just has and we've got to remain in that, and we've got to remain in that relationship. We've got to stay connected to that relationship. If you remain in me and I in you, because apart from me, buddy, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it through the potholes of life. And they're all around us. They're all over the place. As the Father has loved me, so I've loved you. Now remain in my love. There it is again. Remain in my love. If you keep my commands and you remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's command and remain in his love. My command is this. You may want to underline it. Love each other as I have loved you. Remember, he said, greater love is no man than this, and a man will lay down his life for his friends. He said, you are my friends if you do what I command you. This is my command for you. Love each other. He says it again in verse 17. This is my command. Love each other. If you're going to stay connected to the vine, If you're going to allow the Father to come in and get rid of some things that are preventing your life from being the best that it can possibly be and producing fruit that will last and joy that is complete, if you're going to embrace that in your life, you've got to follow His commands. His ways are not our ways. So what He commands us, what He teaches us to do in our lives will not always make sense, but it always leads to a productive life. It always leads to some joy in your life. We follow His commands. In this instance, Wednesday night we'll look at some more commands, but in this instance, His command is to love each other. Well, how do I love each other? How do we do that? As He loves us, warts and all. We're all different. We have different priorities, different belief systems, different occupations, different educational backgrounds, different backgrounds, different parts of the country. We're all different. He said you got to love each other. Mamas and daddies have to love their students when they're working off a half a brain. Students have to love their mom and daddy when they don't understand what we're going through. You got to love each other. You got to love each other that are Alabama fans, that are Auburn fans, that are Democrats and Republicans. We got to love each other. Why? Because of the Christ that's in us, because of the gardener and the being connected to the vine as we are in life. This is my command, that you love each other. I no longer call you servants, Jesus said. I no longer call you servants because a servant does not know what is his master's business. Instead, I've called you a friend. Instead, I've called you a friend, for everything I've learned from my Father I've made known to you, so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. A servant, just regimented. This is what the Master told me to do. This is what I'm going to do. But Jesus said, you're not a servant, you're my friend. I've laid down my life, and I'm about to lay down my life for you. And what the Father has shown me, I have shown you. What the Father has told me, I have told you. Now I want you to remain in that. I want you to do that. I want you to trust me. Trust me for how life works out. Because the gardener cares for the vine. And you're connected to the vine, so you can trust me. You can trust me for the outcome. You can trust me for the results of what your life is and where your life goes. Students, you can trust God for your career, for the direction, for the purpose that He's placed you here for. If you fulfill God's purpose in your life, you'll live a fruitful life, a life filled with joy, a life that is complete. It's just the way it works in our lives. And we can say, can I trust God for the outcome? I don't know about you, but as I look at things that are going on in my life, I look at Monday. I look at this afternoon. I look at what I need to do Thursday. I need to look and see, sometimes I look and say, well, this is what needs to happen in the next year. This is what needs to happen in the next 5 years. God doesn't deal in that. God looks at our life from this. From the beginning to way past the end. From the beginning. He looks at the families we came from. He looks at the experiences we have in life. He looks at our impact and our fruitfulness for all of eternity. He says, buddy, you can trust me today because I'm not working. I'm working for today, but I'm not working necessarily just for today. I'm working for all eternity in your life, buddy. And I'm positioning you today for what needs to take place next week, next month, next year, 5 years from now, at your death. I'm positioning you today, and you can trust me in that. Trust me in how you live your life. Because you can trust me for the outcome. Because what the Father has shown the Son has shown us. And we can trust Him. We can trust Him in how we live our life. This morning, He's going to prune us. He's going to speak to us and has spoken to us about some things in our life that need to be removed, that need to be taken away, that need to be taken out of our lives. And we can trust Him in that. Well, I want to hold on to that. I want to hang on to that. No. If He speaks to you and says you need to prune that away from your life, you need this priority to change, you need this belief, you need this practice to change, we need to allow Him to do that because we can trust Him that He knows what He's doing. What the Father knows, He's shown to the Son. And what He's shown to the Son has shown to us. So we can trust Him in those results. Henry Blackaby says a Christian needs to walk in peace. A Christian needs to walk in peace so that no matter what happens, they'll be able to bear witness to a watching world by how you live your life, by how you respond to the gardener when he comes to prune some things from life. So they might have a fruitful life, so we might have joy in our life. Because we're in tune with the gardener. And our life is making a difference. Let's pray together. It's kind of too much to say our life would be without sin, would be clean. But it's not too much to say that if God speaks to you today about something, that you would respond in the privacy of your own heart and say, God, I want to get this out of my life. I want to get this habit, this priority, this belief, this addiction, these feelings negatively towards someone, these feelings positively for someone that shouldn't be there. Father, I want you to prune some things, and I sense you speaking to me this morning. So I trust you for that. I'll forgive if you want me to forgive. I'll turn if you want me to turn. I'll trust you for the results. That's not too much to ask. But it's exactly what the Father wants from us this morning. Just in the privacy and the quietness of this moment, would you see what He wants you to allow Him to prune out of your life so that you can remain connected to the vine? Maybe bitterness, envy, jealousy, fear. Father, thank you for hearing our prayers today. Continue to speak to us as our gardener. May we trust you.